We really love the location for the view of the city and the view of the UT, the stadium, and the river itself. But more importantly was I had access to the city either by a 15 to 20 minute walk or by a 5-minute drive. And I just wanted to be really downtown, but I didn't want to be totally downtown.
The children are grown, and we knew that we wanted a change. Farming is very difficult if there's only one or two of you doing that, and I had a small farm in Friendsville, Tennessee. So we thought we wanted an urban lifestyle, so we spent about a year in a rental unit across the river and realized that we really loved being in walking distance to things that are downtown, but we also wanted water access. So when we started looking, this was one of the only places within walking distance to downtown that also had its own easy water access. You don't have to rent a slip in the marina, you can buy one.
We were over at the landings, renting over there. We liked being on the river, and so we were looking for a condo that would have river access and close to downtown.
It was the view of Neyland Stadium and Thompson Bowling Arena and being on the river. I mean, we love UT sports because I married into it, and then I became a Vol for life.
I retired from teaching high school after 30 years in the Washington, D.C. area. And growing up in Knoxville and being a UT football fan, I looked around for where I might live in retirement, and I picked this with a view of the Tennessee River.
The walkability, the public transportation, and we love the UT Vols and all of their sports events. So it was, and we love water too, so it was a perfect setting for us.
I remember being a student at UT, parking in G10 parking garage across the river here. I remember coming in the morning to class, and when the building was being built, I remember looking across the river thinking how cool would it be to live there as it was going up. So, you know, the opportunity to move down here was too much to pass up.
We had been visiting Knoxville for a number of weekends over the previous year, looking for a location in downtown. And it's a much longer story that brought us across the river, but we wanted to be near downtown, the energy, we like the built environment, but we also like the natural environment. So the South Riverfront gave us an opportunity to look out our window and see nature, blooming trees, the river. But since I'm a walker, walking downtown is a daily event. So we had the best of both worlds, so that's what brought us to City View.
And to be able to commute less in the evenings, so I was trading kind of a longer commute to work for just being closer to the activity of downtown, the university, and South Knoxville.
Just touring apartments when I originally was looking for apartments back in July. I'm a master's in public health student at UT Knoxville, and I didn't know where I wanted to live, so that's how I ended up here. This just had the best deal. I like the Riverview front. I like that it was close to UT Knoxville. It's walking distance to downtown and Market Square, and I really like that.
I didn't really expect quite the sense of community that I have here. I think kind of the suburb that I'd lived in before, or the community I lived in before, just wasn't as close. We didn't have an HOA, we didn't have a community kind of a community of people who met together a lot. So it's been much more social than I expected.
I thought it would be great fun to be able to go to all the sporting events that we wanted to. I've made a lot of friends, not only in the building, but through church, and it's home.
I lived in a neighborhood and there was 51 houses. You knew probably 2 or 3 people. The person who lived next door, you kind of vaguely knew them, or maybe the person who lived down the street. Here, it was different because you were able to meet people through social functions or just day-to-day walking your dog or that sort of thing. And the expectation to kind of live isolated the way I did in the neighborhood was completely set aside because people were so friendly and so outgoing, and we were involved with people and they were involved with us socially as well as in some instances professionally. You know, we worked in some of the same areas together and that sort of thing. So there was a community that I hadn't felt in a long time, even though I felt I lived in a community, a neighborhood, but we didn't really know each other. Here we know each other.
We were just across the river in a unit, and so we run every morning, and so we would run over here and try to pretend in our heads what it would be like, try to think about what it might be like to live here. You know, we'll be getting up in the morning, we'll be doing our run from here, we'll be coming home in the afternoon from work, and it's really been wonderful. We love being able to come home and within 10 minutes we can be on the water, and within 20 minutes we can be downtown having a drink or dinner.
My vision was I would walk. I have access to the university, which is a mile away across the bridge. Downtown is a mile away. I would walk and have lunch downtown several times a week. I could make friends. I would be sitting on a park bench and be that retired guy who sat and watched the world go by.
Just the opportunity to be in such close proximity to downtown, but at the same time, a little bit of separation there with the river, with Henley Street Bridge, Gay Street Bridge. You know, so to be in the city, but at the same time, not in the city, if that makes sense.
We moved from a rather large private residence with a yard, and so we knew there would be some adjustment in terms of space, and but the rest of it was not a surprise. We wanted to be accessible to the greenways, since I'm a cyclist, accessible to downtown easily. So there have not been surprises, even though we'd not lived in a condo previously.
We didn't really know a lot about South Knoxville. We had lived out in West Knoxville for over 40 years, and most of what we did know was either downtown or West Knoxville or go into the mountains. South Knoxville was just one of those things that we knew that there were some things like Iams, some places like Iams there that we could visit, and we did do that. We did take advantage of that, and then we learned about Fort Dickerson and the quarry, and little by little, as we were able to be over in this area more often, we learned more about it, and now we love it, and we enjoy all of the history that is around it, and what we're preparing to see in the future.
If anything, it's really been better than we expected. We don't even, for instance, we don't even keep dessert in the house. We walk downtown to get ice cream or cake or something if we want dessert, and it's been wonderful for our waistlines.
Don't go as downtown as much as I originally anticipated. Instead, I've met neighbors. I've become involved in my neighborhood association. I've gotten involved in the community, gotten involved with local government, and spend time at the East Tennessee Historical Society researching, as well as participating in local events, enjoying local culture, theater, arts, and sports.
I think it's been less hectic than I expected it to be. Being away from just off Chapman Highway, I expected it to be more traffic, more people here than what it has been, but it's actually a lot more laid back, a lot quieter than I expected.
The whole neighborhood has really kind of rallied together, trying to do things for this area, and we've enjoyed the farmers market on Saturdays through the summer. We've enjoyed all of the transportation on water that we get to view every day.
Well, being here as like 22 versus being here as like 7, it's completely different. There's more things for me to see. I can actually drive and see how like close everything is. When I was a little girl, I thought, oh, Knoxville's so big, but being here, it's like a little small town, and I love it.
I kind of like the ruggedness of the train trestle. Reminds us of the work we do. We're really, communities are built around how people live their lives, and for a lot of us, that's work. For me, it reminds me of kind of the labor I grew up doing on farm and stuff like that. So I like kind of that, to borrow a theme from the whole city, that scruffiness of the South Knoxville neighborhood, and then the South Knoxville waterfront in particular. I also grew up near the Mississippi River, so I think the river is kind of a place that I go home to a lot, and the water is something that I like to be close to.
I enjoy the view of the city itself. I enjoy the river. I enjoy the people, and it just is just a really super nice place to live because of the fact that I feel like I belong here.
It's access to the water. It's from almost any window in the building. You can see either the water or a view of mountains or downtown. We really love that.
The structure itself is very appealing. The landscaping is nice. The river is so pretty. You walk outside and you're looking at the river, the downtown view, and that's what I enjoy the most about the appearance of the outside. It's just very stunning.
The fact that nature is next to residence, which is next to commerce. We're next to the Henley Street Bridge, a very busy flow of Knoxville into South Knoxville, and yet it's peaceful and quiet by the river.
I think it's the most picturesque place in Knoxville. You see people down here all the time with cameras. People pull up just to take pictures. I'm confident that people come down here and make their way down to our building just to get a shot of the city, the stadium, the river. It's beautiful.
So I like the railroad bridge. I enjoy walking the river walk and at night and seeing the lights on the Henley Bridge and the Gay Street Bridge. I think the night view is perhaps one of the best views from City View.
Taking a walk as the sun sets, or as I like to do, I enjoy sunrises. And so seeing the quiet and watching the day come is a beautiful thing. And then 5 minutes away are places to dine, shopping, and just a brief 1 mile walk away is the heartbeat of downtown Knoxville.
I'm excited to be living here now. Some other places I've lived have been kind of old established neighborhoods that just didn't have quite the sense of community that we have here. So I enjoy it very much.
I can tell you I probably lived in about 10,000 places in my entire life. My father used to move every 6 months whether he needed to or not. So we lived everywhere. We lived in Chicago, Toledo, Lexington, Kingsport, off and on, et cetera, and so forth. When I was in college, I moved 1,000 times. And, in my adult life, I've moved I don't know how many times. But the latter portion of my life, I was in West Knoxville for approximately 28 years. And my wife was so adamant about moving downtown. And it was the best decision we ever made. Being in this neighborhood, I was thinking yesterday, actually, what would happen if I hadn't have moved here? I'd still be living in the same neighborhood, still knowing the same 3 people, still doing the same kind of thing, even though I'm retired. But since we've moved here, it just seems like our world has opened up tremendously. And in doing that, it just feels that I have just gained so much in terms of friendships and in terms of just a sense of happiness and a sense of belonging that I really didn't have in other places.
I was a military brat, and then I was an Army nurse myself. And so I've lived quite a lot of places with quite a lot of wonderful people. but this is what we selected. This is probably the only one that other than the farm, that I hand selected. We wanted to be here, and we really love it. My kids tease me and say, "You live in a luxury hotel, Mom." But it's really wonderful. And I never have a shortage of people wanting to watch the dogs because they want to come stay in the condominium. We're very happy here.
Living in Knoxville, this is the area I want to live. Nothing against Farragut or Cedar Bluff or any of those areas. They're all nice in their own respect, but we like the river, we like downtown, we like being able to walk places we want to go. So it's a slam dunk for us to live here, and as opposed to any other area. As far as other places I've lived in my life, from Western Kentucky, I liked it there, but that's because that's where I grew up and family was from. And I lived in the Chicago area for a while. That was okay in its own right. But I really like Knoxville, and I really like City View and being downtown.
For a long time, I thought I wanted to live in the Bearden area. That's where I lived the majority of the time while I was a student. Also lived in North Knoxville for a little while as a student, as well as on campus. And this is far and away the best area that I've lived in Knoxville. I think the future potential here for this area goes above and beyond any other areas in Knoxville.
I have found great fulfillment beyond my expectations when I moved. I moved to a town where my relatives have pretty much gone, even though I grew up here. What I have found is a home. Friendly, warm, and inviting is what my neighborhood is. And by getting involved, I get back far more than I put in the way of being in my own hometown. I grew up here, but now I'm proud to live here.